You all had a good week?
Yes, sir.
All right. Enthusiasm, I like it. Also thrilled to be here, I know.
So what's today's lesson going to be?
We're getting the final stretches coming on, so again, I hope you did read the announcement I sent out. And the schedule, I feel like it's going to get aggressive, and maybe it's just me as we're getting to the end, and there are things that need to be done. And then spring break is in the middle of things of all this. So we will meet next week, normal session. The week after is going to be spring break. And then after that, we have 3 more meetings in April, and that's going to be it. And I want to, this will light up in a second. As I've been looking, just trying to map out the rest of the term, I got most of it mapped out. I mean, the big ticket items, as I've said before, are coming up. I owe you comments on resumes, and I'll get those to you hopefully today or tomorrow morning, the latest, so you can look at what I say about it. And the final resume will be due, for the bigger credit. The draft you did is just going to go into regular assignments, so it doesn't carry a whole lot of weight, but the other one will.
What's today's lesson about?
Well, we're going to recap a little bit, plan for the rest of the year, and then we'll go into today. Because there are 3 things I want to, at least 3 things I want to get lay down today, which is going to be laying track for the stuff, for these deliverables that are coming up fast. So next week, or actually the 29th, what I'm going to want is a cover letter and a resume. The cover letter is considerably easier than the resume, and I also want the email, and it's kind of like the package. If you want to talk about workplace portfolio items, I mean, very typically, email, cover letter, resume that you're gonna send out to market yourself. The other item that's again coming up, and we've talked about elevator pitch before, but this is one which is much more important to have a first draft, second draft kind of a thing. So I want to sort of so today, to your question about what we're going to do, I want to talk about sort of the email, content structure, cover letter content structure, and elevator pitch, sort of help lay some track for the first draft of the elevator pitch and how we go about it. In my mind, that's not the kind of thing you just sit down and scribble, but I mean, if you're organized and everything else, maybe you can just do it pretty easily. For these 3 items, what I'm going to be looking for is not just content, but clean English, because this is how you're presenting yourself. Just like with the resume, it sort of says something about who you are. So you want to have clean English. You want it to look good. First impressions, as they say, are the lasting impressions. Like I've said before, and I'm sure you make sure the same sentiment. If you've got a couple hundred resumes on your desk and you're hiring for one person, and you see a bunch of visual clutter, spelling mistakes, things along those in it, it's probably like, click, I'm just going to the next one, because this person didn't take enough time to give me a clean product. I'm not going to be that interested in bringing them into interview, honestly. So let's see. Also, I want to touch on I feel like it's an aggressive agenda, and maybe I'm just making too much out of this. The other sort of big ticket item here is writing, it's a research persuasive letter, and just looking at the headline, that may sound intimidating. There is a little bit of research that needs to go into that. And the topic here, it's asking for a raise, or it could be even along the lines of like negotiating a salary. But if you're coming in as an entry-level person, it's kind of hard. You don't have a lot of leverage to negotiate a salary. You don't have a lot of things to reasons to justify why you need a higher salary, kind of at the mercy to some degree. You will need to go back into Galileo and look up some things. I'll sort of give you some prompts as to how to do that. But one thing at a time. Any questions? The week after spring break, I'm going to put together it'll be our final test. It'll be in class. It'll be kind of like the others, and it'll be on topics that we've covered since the last test, sort of the multiple choice grammar kind of stuff that we've done before. And then for those who, need a makeup test or want a makeup test for that matter, I'm gonna put something else out and I'll just iron out the logistics of how to go about doing that. Later on, over spring break, I guess I'm gonna be the one working, so I'm gonna put together the test for the meeting, our meeting after spring break, as well as the test for the makeup or whatever, if people need one, want one, et cetera. Okay. So deliverables for next week: resume, cover letter, email, as part of the package. And just sort of think ahead. I mean, the elevator pitch first draft, we are gonna have the test on the 14th, so there really won't be much of any kind of discussion we're gonna have, in that meeting. And then the first draft elevator pitch, we do that the Sunday after we have the quiz. So one more reason why I wanna go over elevator pitch here, so, we've talked about it and give you time to think about it and all that. Leave this here for a second. I'm gonna, actually, might as well just upload this now so you will have it. Upload. Like they never have the functionality, it's never identical across things, is it? Okay. So, all right. Revised schedule, just been uploaded. So close, save. Let me ask first, did anybody have any questions about the resume assignment? Did it all fall into place for you? I said I owe you feedback, but still, I just wonder if there's any questions about it. Hopefully it's straightforward enough. Okay. I guess logically the email is going to come up first, because very typically, if you're looking for a job and you're going to email, you're using email to somebody, you've got your email and you're typically going to attach the cover letter and resume to it. So see where this goes. Visible. Okay. Some of this is honestly it's kind of boilerplate. Actually, this is the assignment here. I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna make this do boilerplate submissions. Do this now. 29th. Save. Okay. Distraction here. So a couple things. Do people? This is almost. I feel like this may be almost getting out of date. Do people use email anymore? Do y'all use email frequently? We have this GwinnettTech.edu stuff. Or do you?
Never use email.
Never?
Ever.
Anyone else? It's kind of like sign of the times, because email was such a high-tech thing back in the early 90s. That was, that was it, right? Now it seems like no one uses it. I have email addresses, but I don't read hardly any of them. I only read an email when I'm expecting an email and I look for it. That's how almost infrequently I do it. What about others? You writing emails at all? No? Here and there, okay. Wow. Another thing that's just becoming obsolete.
What's replacing email? What's replacing email?
I would say texts. Others, because I tell people, friends, family, and others, whatever. I said, if you need to reach me, text me, because, one, I'm not gonna see an email, but the text, boom, it's right there. It's like, okay, you know, I can deal with this. I know who it is. But I guess before long, you know, we're all gonna be inundated with texts, just like we are with emails. I'm not a big texter either, so there aren't a whole lot of, you know, people like my kids, and maybe y'all are a little more, you know, text savvy, that you're communicating with people, you know, 24/7. You just think, you know, text, you know, popping like, you know, popcorn on the stove. But anyway, and I suppose this would be relevant too with text. I mean, you know, because a lot of this is, you know, it's how, you know, how firestorms erupt. You know, not literal firestorms, you know, but you know, someone sends you something, text or an email that has lots of caps in it and bold letters and, you know, big letters and all that. It's like, how do you feel when someone sends you something like that? Or if you're sending something like it to somebody, what are you trying to say? Two questions, really.
I'm upset. I'm upset.
Yeah. When you receive it or when you give it?
Both.
Or both? Yeah. Yeah. Picked off at somebody, big caps. You know. Anyone else? What do you? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, I always think that someone's yelling at me, you know, if they do all caps, and I guess that's what it is. But I mean, you really need to do that. I mean, maybe sometimes you do, you know. But anyhow, so let's go through some of these things. Should be straightforward.
Okay, real talk. Making email etiquette mistakes in the workplace is not going to capsize your career,
but it can embarrass you. Believe me. You know, it's like again, people aren't using as many emails, but I'm sure this guy's going to talk about this. But you know, when you send a broadcast email, I mean, this is out of the Department of Education. You've got 3,000 employees. You know, maybe the Secretary of Education sends something out to everybody that you want somebody to know. And then somebody hits reply to all and says something, you know, that's inapt. I don't want to say it's inappropriate, but something that doesn't belong to all users. You know, they're saying something. So no, it won't end a career, but it certainly can embarrass you. It's even happened here at Gwinnett Tech when someone is, you know, they say the English department faculty or the English department faculty had to send something out to all their instructors. She always puts, don't hit reply to all, because there are people, you know, believe it, you know, hitting reply to all and saying something that is meant for one person, you know, and then someone else has to reply to all, and then someone else says stop replying to all. I mean, it's just like, it's, you know, bang my head against the wall, please.
Learning the unspoken rules of writing professional emails will affect how competent you are perceived to be in the eyes of your colleagues. And since there are no standardized training courses for this, in this video, I'm going to first share the very real benefits of getting good at emailing in the workplace. Then dive into my top 8 tips for professional email etiquette, many of which I learned the hard way during my first full-time job as a management consultant. So let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Jeff, and I'm truly honored to be able to partner with Harvard Business Review for this video about a nerdy passion of mine, email etiquette in the workplace. Think back to the last time you received a poorly written email. You might have had to reread it a few times to get the main point, and the action items might have been scattered all over the place. Worst case scenario, it led to an unnecessarily long back and forth email thread that could have been avoided had the initial email been properly planned out. And therein lies the beauty of well-crafted emails. Not only does it help you, the sender, come across as more capable by showcasing strong communication skills, but also saves the reader so much of their time.
You know, they say, you know, time is money, right? You know, how many, you know, again, you think you might try to impress somebody by writing a long email, but who has time for this when you're going 90 miles an hour, right? You wonder, why am I getting this? What do I need to do with this? You know, or is it just FYI, you know, kind of thing? I'll get around to reading it when I need it. And especially, you know, it goes, one of the point this guy is saying, which I always keep emphasizing with writing, keep it simple. You know, each to the point. Tell them what they need so people can move on.
By only servicing information relevant to them. So, without further ado, my first tip is to have a call to action when appropriate appropriate in the email subject line. Most of us are familiar with the generic action required in subject lines, right? My recommendation is to take it a step further and include exactly what you need the recipient to do and the estimated time it takes for them to do it. For example, instead of writing action required, feedback for project X, write 5-minute survey, feedback for project X instead. This very small tweak probably gave you a lot more context. It's a survey for project X, I can get it done very quickly in between the 2 meetings I have. Or if it's not appropriate to include the estimated time, be specific about the call to action. For example, instead of spending estimates for Q4, write Elon to approve spending estimates for Q4. So Elon knows what's expected of him even before he opens the email. Tip number 2, stick with one email thread for the same topic. I'm gonna be honest, I got called out for this by a colleague of mine, but I'm glad she told me. Basically, I used to send out separate emails for the same.
Now, if you don't have the familiarity with this, I mean, there's something really important to what this guy's saying here. Because, when again, back in government, we had at one point we had like 23 collection agencies. And what that were, collecting default student loan debts. And we would need the collection agencies to do something. So we would send something out under a subject line, like this guy's going, action needed, and then, go on to explain whatever it was. And we had to emphasize over and over, do not amend the subject line. Because if you imagine if you're just getting emails en masse, okay, and you want to find emails related to that subject, you sort of sort by subject line or sort by subject, right? And then you're going to get all the ones that are of that subject. So you might have a unique subject to send to all these business entities, and if they're replying using that subject line, you're going to find their response pretty easily just by sorting.
Well, what's today's assignment going to be
We're
on?
talking. I'm not sure yet. We may not actually have the deliverable today. Just other things I want to talk about, and I don't think we're going to have time to go over something like that.
Okay.
But nonetheless, so you're going to find responses from 23 different agencies, and some of these agencies might have asked a question. Well, can you clarify what you mean by this? So we're keep trying to keep things under the same subject line will help you find it. But if someone replies and say, action needed, and then they name like, Collectors Inc. as the try to identify them as in the subject line, you'll never find that subject. It'll be very hard to find that email, say. So keeping things in the same subject line is going to keep the conversation together. And if you want to, and this guy, I think he's going to go into this, and if you want to have a sidebar with somebody else, have that sidebar with somebody else and let them know that it's just between you and them, but you can also keep some of that subject line there, but amend the subject line a little bit to keep it separate. You won't really appreciate that until you're, in this kind of, in an environment where they do use a lot of email, and lots of people still use, especially big companies are using email all the time. So anyway.
Project whenever I had a new idea or follow-up question. But if you think about it from the recipient's point of view, they're missing the context from their original email thread, and multiple new emails on the same topic just clog up their inboxes unnecessarily. So the general rule of thumb here is to stick to the original email chain for any given topic so everyone can refer to the same information. Email etiquette tip number 3. Explain why you added in or took out recipients in email threads. There are many situations where to add someone into the email thread to get their input or take someone out to spare their inbox. A professional and easy way to do this is to add a sentence at the very top of the email, clearly showing who you added in or took out. I like to add parentheses and italicize the font to separate it from the actual email body.
Yeah. Another key thing, because when you've got scores, literally sometimes scores of people that are getting this email, and now all of a sudden you look, you always want to look at who's getting the email. Big mistakes can happen if you're if you're saying something that doesn't belong to everybody in the group. Let me put it that way. But every now and then you need to start adding people, and you want to let the others know somebody's been added. So it's like if when I was working with my peer group and my boss, and we were trying to formulate a decision for something, but we needed her boss to come into the mix, and then so we would reply to all, but add him in this case and then you would say plus Patrick for awareness, for decision, for whatever. You know, so you know, Patrick all of a sudden, who's, you know, way more busy than any of the rest of us, would know exactly why he's being he's being included in the mix. So he would know, we need you to read this. And that's the other thing. Like I said, you get so many emails, you don't really have time to read them all. You know, and if I just get a whole big bunch of paragraphs, it's gonna be very hard for me or anybody else to go through all of it, to figure out, why am I getting this? What am I supposed to do with this? Or am I just a, you know, an extraneous extra? Because you have plenty of people, as you can find, just like to reply to all. You think, okay, more is better, we'll just keep this thing going and let everybody know, but then all of a sudden your email inbox is just popping with new stuff that's coming in all the time. You can never keep up with it. Okay.
This way the readers know who the new recipients are immediately. Tip number 4 actually addresses a very big pet peeve of mine, which is when senders include a lot of information up front, but what they're really trying to get at or ask for is at the very end of the email. To avoid that, always include your main point first, followed by the context. Just compare these two emails. Hi Jane, my name is Jeff, and I'm in the product marketing team. We're preparing a forecast deck for the big boss, and he's looking for the revenue projection numbers for the secret electric car that's launching soon. Could I trouble you to pull that data for me? Compare that with, hi Jane, may I please trouble you for the electric car revenue projection numbers? Context. The product marketing team is currently preparing a forecast deck for the big boss, and we're hoping to use the projections to fight for more budget. It would be amazing to get numbers for 2025 to 2030 in a Google Sheets format. By pushing the context back, we're giving the other person the option to read the not so important. The product marketing team is currently preparing a forecast deck for the big boss, and we're hoping.
Now, I mean, you know, there's some politeness in this that, you know, if you have the luxury of the time to write the context, but if I would be writing this, I'm assuming Jane knows who I am. If she doesn't, I mean, I'd have my title, you know, formatted in any email that I send out, so if she goes, well, who's this guy? She can see I was the division director for, you know, so-and-so, whatever. But, you know, just get to the quick. Tell them what you need. If they want to know more about it, you know, maybe they need to ask. If this is coming totally out of the blue, maybe you need to put the context in, say if the person really doesn't know who you are and there's no reason why they would know who you are. Let's say one of my staff members might have been emailing somebody, you know, and they're not gonna know this person from anyone else. Sometimes it's necessary, but again, time's money, and this extra stuff, I mean, may just be a waste of your time and a waste of somebody else's.
Use the projections to fight for more budget. It would be amazing to get numbers for 2025 to 2030 in a Google Sheets format. By pushing the context back, we're giving the other person the option to read the not so important part of the email. Oftentimes when we're emailing someone more senior than us, we feel obligated to explain why we're emailing right at the beginning so it doesn't seem like we're bothering them. This is actually counterproductive because if the person is very senior, they probably just want to know what you're emailing them about, how they can help deal with it, then move on with their own schedules. Tip number 5, if you receive an email with a lot of disorganized content, summarize the sender's main points for them in your reply. So if you receive an email from someone who clearly has not watched this video and sent you a long, wordy, convoluted message you have to reread a few times, you want to do 2 things. Number 1, send them this video. Number 2, take a few minutes, identify and bucket common themes from their email, and summarize their message in a few sentences before responding to whatever they're emailing you about.
Can anyone think of a better approach to what this guy is suggesting? So you get the email on the left, and this person is responding, hey, I want to confirm my understanding, and sort of rephrasing. What might be a better way to approach this? Anyone? What would you do if you got an email that was, or even a text? I mean, if that's how you're wired into things, you get something that has a whole lot of verbal clutter, and you can't really tell what they want.
Delete it.
If you don't have the luxury of deleting, so if the boss is giving you this, delete. It may not work. So what's a better way maybe a better way to respond? I know you got it, you'd say something like, don't put words in your mouth. I don't understand what you're
Yeah,
asking.
I'm not asking, I don't understand what you're asking me to do here.
No, I'm just saying, because I mean, this is as far as the email etiquette, I mean, sort of, you think of a professional situation, what would you do, I mean, you're very busy, you get an email on the left that has a lot of clutter in it, and you can't really tell what they want. So, and then what this guy is suggesting, writing something, so, hey, I wanna confirm my understanding.
I print the email and go to their office,
Yeah. Yeah.
face to face.
Yeah. That's really where I was going, because, the last thing you want is you're gonna spend some time reading it, spend some time rephrasing it, and I wanna confirm my understanding. What if your understanding is wrong? Then that person's gonna write you back, and you get this chaos. So, if they're not, down the hall, with the door open, you might say, hey, can we talk? Ping them, buzz them, hey, can we talk about this? So in a matter of, maybe 20, 30 seconds, you can have a tete-a-tete, understand what they want, and move on, without having to try to go through all of this, so, yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy how these things can get out of hand. No, you didn't quite understand, and then maybe the person writes something back that isn't as clear. It's crazy. Call them up, face to face.
Not only does this help you confirm your understanding is correct, the other party will appreciate the extra effort you took to help them organize their thoughts. Email etiquette tip number.
I really don't like where this guy's going, but maybe it's right. But the other thing is, what if this is the boss wrote you an email, and it's not very clear to you. The boss is be crystal clear to him or her because they wrote it, right? They know what they want. You paraphrase it and try to react. This is my understanding. If you're still not getting what the boss wants, your boss is gonna think, well, this person isn't very smart. They still don't get it. Can't they read? Can't they comprehend? Give them a call. Ask for clarity.
6, hyperlink whenever possible. This is another pet peeve of mine. If you're sharing a link with someone over email, you really should take the extra few seconds to hit Command K on Mac or Control K on Windows and hyperlink the external website or video. Not only does this look so much cleaner to the recipient than just pasting the big clunky link, but it also decreases the chances of you making a mistake by adding an extra letter or deleting one in the original URL. Tip number 7.
If you do this, great. If not, my only suggestion is if you're gonna be using email to connect with somebody and they need to, they're gonna need like your, LinkedIn URL if you have one or something along those lines. Include the link, make it easy. Phone number, include it so they can press it and dial you right away. But I think those things are almost automatically formatted.
Change default setting to reply instead of reply all. This is honestly the risk-averse side of me talking. The way I think about it, let's say you reply to an email in a rush, and you do make a mistake. The damage is contained to that one recipient because your default setting is reply to one person instead of reply to all. This is.
And if you don't, I don't know, honestly, I've never changed the setting on emails like that. I couldn't tell you how to do it. All these different, tools have different ways of doing things like that. The moral of the story is never hit reply to all unless you really mean for everybody on that list to get whatever it is you're trying to send.
The standard setting in most, if not all, of the popular email clients, and you can usually find this in the general settings section. And email etiquette tip number 8. Change undo send option to 30 seconds. So you might not know this, but Murphy's Law when it comes to emailing the workplace is that you will always catch your mistakes 10 seconds after the email is already sent. All jokes aside, I'm sure we've all been there. We send an email, we go into the sent email folder to read it from the other person's perspective, and we realize something is wrong. Again, this is a standard setting you can play around with in all of the email apps. Instead of the default 5 seconds undo send, for example, we can change it to 30 seconds for good measure. Please let me and the HBR team know down in the comments below which one of these tips was your favorite.
That's a function I've never used. Because I think I'm just more cautious whenever I'm about to send something out. I'll read it, reread it, which I think everybody should be doing anyway. But the one thing is, which you didn't go over the all caps, and if you're mad at somebody or if you don't like something and you are really ready to fire off a series of expletives or something along those lines, because you didn't react well to whatever was said. Maybe it's a good thing, you wanna put 30 seconds on it because you can type out your, darkest feelings that you wanna send toward that person. And if you hit send, I shouldn't have done that, then you can hit unsend, you can save yourself before, there's a firestorm before HR is walking in your office saying you're doing inappropriate things over email, what have you, saying inappropriate things, so nonetheless, if you get that kind of email or whatever, or even if it's a text, you see it all the time, you see how firestorms erupt because people are saying things that they would say to not to somebody's face, in most cases. I mean, a lot of these things, people are, they say things you wouldn't say to somebody to their face. Just walk out of the room, walk down the hall, walk back, take a few deep breaths, sit down, move on. It just isn't worth it to send out shouting or whatever else in an email or something like that. So, any questions about sort of workplace email etiquette? So I sort of have mixed feelings about this because it sounds like many of you may not be using a lot of email. So, but for those that will, even with text, same kind of thing. I mean, if you're communicating with people, I mean, it's, think about the clarity, think about the sort of the tone of your language. Keep it short. The thing with texts, I mean, I struggle with texting, so I keep all of my texts very short. So it's sort of like by necessity for me whenever I'm communicating that way. And I certainly can't stand when somebody sends me a text that fills up the whole phone. It's like, I can't read this stuff. The font's too small. What do you want? Why am I getting this? Stick to the point. Really kind of basic stuff. Any questions? So, go back. Where are we at in time? About half an hour. I'm going to open up this assignment block. I'm going to change some of the things that are in the content because I want something else out of this. Workplace portfolio. This is the other piece. Kind of like hand in hand with the resume we talked about last time. Have people written cover letters before? No? Anyone? No? Okay. Well, good. Okay. So let's do some of this. Again, resume cover letter. It's like they go hand in hand. As we'll talk a little bit more. I mean, you typically, when you're applying for a job, they want a cover letter and a resume. I mean, I find, the cover letter needs to do some of the talking for you. The cover letter, in many respects, introduces your resume. So you're going to say, "Dear so-and-so," kind of a thing. And again, similar to the substance of the email video, you want to be clear. You want to be to the point. Who you are, why you're writing. If it's a job, you want to be addressing the job, announcement number, things along those lines. If you can find the name of the person who's the hiring official, address it to that person. It has a little bit of a personal effect to it. Then you start speaking a little bit to why you would be a good fit. And the reason I'm bringing this up again because it's like the elevator pitch cover letter. They're very, very similar. There won't be as much verbiage in the cover letter, but they go hand in hand, and we'll see that. So cover letter resources. This is all open. So let's see. These are obviously for entertainment. Let's see. Use this one.
Let me show you how to connect your JotForm AI agent to Ignite. So, walk me to my desktop to show you how.
When it comes to landing a first round interview, your resume might be more important than a cover letter in all ways but one. A good cover letter evokes emotion in the reader, something even the best resume.
Is this too loud? I mean, is it okay? Maybe there's a speaker above me. That sounds louder than the other one.
They cannot do. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 key things my friend Amanda did in her cover letter that ultimately landed her multiple offers in management consulting firms and bulge bracket investment banks. And make sure to stay to the very end for a cover letter formatting power tip that I promise you've never heard of before. Let's get started. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Before you even begin to write the cover letter for a full-time job or internship application, you might be wondering, is it even necessary? And the answer is always going to be the same. A good one won't guarantee you the job, but a bad one will ensure you don't even get the first round interview. So let's break down the 3 things this cover letter got right. Number 1, and this is the most important tip, hook the reader in by mentioning a connect.
Hook. You all know what the hook is? I mean, for many who've done essays, they talk about the hook. You read the first line, and if you don't have something there, you're done. So you're gonna have to have something in there that is going to make the reader, the recipient of your cover letter or whatever, want to keep reading. So it's like this guy's saying, I mean, this cover letter can be the make or break just getting a call back for an interview, right? Give them something they want to read. If you know somebody who works at the company, drop a name. There's no harm in that. If you know somebody.
With the company. If you do this right, it'll keep them reading past the first paragraph and onto why you should have this position over the other applicants. Let's take a look at what Amanda did in her example. Everyone tells me the entry-level consultant position in any of the Big 4 firms is going to be the same. However, after attending 5 career fairs and speaking with over 20 professionals, it has become clear to me EY stands out from the rest.
What do y'all think of that as a hook? Would you want to read more? Everyone tells me entry level in any of the Big 4 firms is going to be the same.
I wanna know why she thinks it stands out.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to share a thought? I mean, would you want to read more? 5 career fairs, it's become clear, your company stands out, so.
And speaking with over 20 professionals, it has become clear to me EY stands out from the rest. Let's pause right here. In this one sentence, Amanda does 3 things. She first hooks the reader in by mentioning a common perception about the consulting industry, that all entry-level positions are the same, then immediately contradicting that very statement. Then she shows she's very proactive since she's been attending career fairs. And finally, she makes it clear that something about Ernst & Young, something about EY stands out to her. Aren't you just a tiny bit curious as to what that is? In order for you to replicate what Amanda has done here with her cover letter hook, there's no way around doing some actual research. Number 1, speak with a minimum of 3 industry professionals and ask some targeted questions designed to provide you with specific insight into that role and industry. I made an entire video on the best informational interview questions to ask during coffee chats. I'll link that up here and down below. But in a nutshell, you want to stay away from asking generic questions like, tell me about your day-to-day, and instead reword that to something like, what do you find most rewarding about your current role? By making small tweaks like this, you prompt the professional to tell you concrete examples that you can use in your cover letter, which in turn shows the recruiter, without a shadow of a doubt, you've clearly done your homework. Number 2.
So one of the reasons I wanted to have you all do some research earlier about hard skills, soft skills, and write a little process paragraph or about how, narrative paragraph, how you use them. I mean, this is the kind of thing you want to think about and start to weave into your cover letter. Having done research, as you all have done a little bit, as to what skills are needed, for success in that, kind of industry, job that you want to go into, and this is a place to lay it out.
Applying for a role.
Hint, when you're writing this, I want you to rehash some of these hard skills, soft skills that you have.
Where software product is involved, such as Google Ads, Facebook Ads, Office 365, Amazon AWS, Salesforce CRM. You want to go to websites such as G2 and Capterra to get a first-hand look at customer testimonials and reviews, since this will help you get a basic understanding of the product in a very short amount of time. Final tip is to remember the connection you mentioned has to be relatable with the reader, who is oftentimes a recruiter or hiring manager. If you're applying for a position at Apple, probably don't say how you're going to come up with the next big iPhone idea, and instead perhaps bring up their emphasis on privacy and how that's impacting the advertising industry. And for all the fresh grads out there, the less qualified you are for the position, the more important this first paragraph. You need to convince the hiring manager that your motivation, energy, willingness to learn will make you a stronger addition to the team.
Again, reiterating, describing your assets, your skill sets, motivation, energy, willingness.
Than someone who might have a bit more experience but failed to be interesting in their cover letter. Okay, I spent a lot of time on this first tip because if you don't get this right, none of other stuff matters because they're not going to keep reading. Let me know down in the comment section below what roles you're applying for, and maybe I can reply with some hook ideas. Cover letter tip number 2. Be purposeful about the information you include. Put another way, each paragraph in your cover letter, or rather each sentence, should have a reason for being there. In Amanda's cover letter, there are no wasted words. The first paragraph hooks the reader in, and the second paragraph expands on that hook. Too often, candidates start off their cover letters by saying, "Hi, my name is John, I currently work here, and I'm applying for this position." Amanda skipped all that because she realized her resume and online application already told the recruiter all that information. And the focus of the cover letter should be on why she, in particular, should be considered for a first round interview. In her third and fourth paragraphs, Amanda highlights relevant achievements that tie into the responsibilities of the role she's applying for. She spent 2 summers interning in management consulting firms and worked on a $2 million project. She developed problem-solving and project management skills, and she received recognition for always being on top of deadlines. She could have brought up leadership skills, how amazing she is at PowerPoint, or her strong background in data analytics. But she knows to focus on the most important factors the recruiter for this role is looking for: deal size, project management skills, and reliability.
And this is sort of another carryover from what we did last time. It's like, you don't want to, like with the resume, you don't just want to send the same generic resume out to everything. If you have a specific job announcement that you're looking at, you want to tweak it a little bit to dovetail it in. So, if you're saying, I want to get a job as a medical technical professional, if that's your objective in a resume, let's say they have a different position named for the hiring, the company that's hiring, but it has a different title, but it's related to medical technical profession, just amend the title, little things like that. If you have hard and soft skills, and if they say we want somebody that has teamwork and has, problem solving abilities, that kind of stuff. You want to sort of throw those things into the cover letter, as well, to emphasize things that this company is specifically asking for.
Last paragraph can be a bit more generic, since usually you end the cover letter by thanking the reader for his or her time and reinforcing your strong desire to join their company. Amanda adds a little bit of personality here by mentioning again she has relevant work experience, differentiating her from the other applicants and emphasizing her project management abilities, a core skill of any capable consultant. Also, pro tip, I just love how she uses the word asset here. Not too cocky, not too modest, just right. Cover letter tip number 3. Use a simple template and pay attention to white space. Just take a look at these 2 cover letters. Putting the formatting aside, which one do you
What do you think? Which one would you take the time to read?
The one on the right?
Yeah, I would say so. Any others? Kind of like just with the email thing, you don't want to give someone all this information. No one's going to read it. You've wasted your time writing it. And someone probably like me, if I'm a hiring official, and say, I can't read that, I'm moving on to the next one. I don't have time. Even this, I would argue that there may be even too much information in the one on the right. The white space, it's easier on the eyes.
Instinctively prefer to read? Probably this one, especially if this person was able to include all the important information in a concise and structured way. I especially like how the name and address section is in a separate column, meaning you don't have too much awkward white space. And if you saw my resume video, you know that I really like having colored accents to give your cover letter a bit more personality while retaining that overall professional look and feel. And many of you might not know this, but including a relevant job title right below your name is beneficial since your cover letter is usually scanned by robots when you upload it, and they look for these keywords. Finally, and here's my biggest power tip when it comes to cover letter formatting, you might notice the first letter up top in the header here are 2 sizes larger than the rest. This is by design. So let's bring this back up to the same size. It's 26. Highlight the letters after the first one. Press Command-Shift, comma twice to make it 2 sizes smaller. And now you're left with a rather unique yet professional looking header for...
This is an interesting tip. It does make it a little more, easy, inviting to the eyes by doing these kinds of things. I'm not going to grade a cover letter as to whether or not you've done something like that, but try to make it, professional looking, but as easier on the eyes as you can. Because I mean, to this guy's point, if everything is black, heavy black color, like staff consultants say that was all in black, phone number and whatever, if that's all in black, sometimes that can just be a little bit overbearing. It looks like kind of gloomy in some ways. So, up to you. I mean, again, it's how you want to present yourself. Little tips.
Your cover letter. To reward those of you who have stuck around until now, here's a link to download this exact template so you can reference it when you're writing your own amazing cover letter. So, circling back to the emotion aspect I mentioned at the beginning of the video. After reading this cover letter, the recruiter might come to the conclusion that Amanda is witty, she has a relevant skill set, and she's driven. All of which means that at least a first round interview is warranted. As a next step, make sure to check out my video on how to write an...
Okay, any questions about this? Yeah.
You don't think using all these different colors and different, text and stuff is kinda, unprofessional?
To the limited degree that this person did, I think it still looks professional to me. Because sometimes, things that stand out, it's just like, the phone number and email address, they're in a different font. I mean, that's, I think, a pretty good idea, because it's, it does draw your eye to something that's, sort of, I don't want to say special, but something I might need to see, because if I want to reach out to you, I can just double click, the email address that's on the paper or the phone number to dial you. But if it had more, I mean, because, we got black and blue, but if this was like, yellow and orange and green, I think, you'd really be going off the top with something like that. But again, it's how you want to present yourself. I mean, but I think that's about as far as I would go with the black and the blue. Question?
Could you put it like in a cover letter, like make it more simple and still like look professional without all the colors and adding all the additional stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because what I want to do next, again, we're not going to go through the 9 yards of this like we did last week with the resume, but I want you, if you would, go back to, if you want to open up Word, it's the same kind of trick. So you have some background to go on. So I'm going to go here, this one has, Word Online, since everybody has it. I'm going to pop this open. You want to create what do we got here? I mean, they create with templates. Actually, I got a little thing, search templates, right? Cover letter, and look at this, Eureka, right? And again, like we did with the resume, pick one that you think suits you. I mean, some of these, as you can see, I mean, look at this. I hope it'll open. Okay. And here they prompt you a little bit, but this is very easy on the eyes. There's very little to read. It's open, although it does have different colors. Again, I'm not crazy about the yellows up here and all this extra stuff. If it's something simple, maybe. But what I want you to do, actually, this one's maybe a little better. It's just black and white. But if you want, just where where to go in Word, at least Word Online, and open up cover letters. Sunday, yeah. So resume, cover letter, and the email project. Not really a project, it's a pretty simple thing. I would not expect this to take a lot of time, especially, when you look at, I'll go back to Yuri Tanaka's. They prompt you, but I would like to see at least 3 brief paragraphs. And I'll put this in the announcements, so open something up. What I would like you to do, this may, actually, this will help. If you look up a job in a career field for you, have a look at that. Just go to Indeed or any place like that. Look up a job announcement and write a cover letter that's directed toward that announcement. I'm not going to read the announcement. I don't need that piece of it, but I just wanted this to be something that I think will prompt you, in the right direction for applying for something, and have the resume will just go in the same line with it. The resume can be somewhat generic. Any questions about how to get from here to there? And again, I'm just looking for good introduction, little brief statement about why you're interested, why you think you're qualified, why they think you'd be an asset to their company. then brief conclusion. And normally, conclusions say, please see my resume for, additional information about my detailed experience. Yeah. Sunday, yeah. Okay. Any questions? Okay. It's 2 out of maybe 4, if I can get to all 4. Well, let's do research persuasive. Okay. Again, this is more of a heavy, more weighty assignment. I want to go over, just lay some track, as I said before, just how we can approach this. So, I'm going to actually revise these instructions. But if let me ask, has anybody been in a situation where you asked your boss for a raise? Anyone? You have? How'd it go? What did you say?
I didn't take you seriously.
If you're willing to share, what did you say?
Well, it was more like a group thing that just all my coworkers that we all believed that we deserved a raise. And when the manager came around, we all just kind of asked collectively. And then at that time, she didn't really seem interested. Like she said, "Oh yeah," but kind of brushed it off weeks after. And then we brought it up again, and then kind of didn't say anything.
Right. What did she ask why do you think you deserve a raise?
Just for the amount of work that we do and how long we've been working here. Because we've all been working here for like a year plus, probably.
Year plus. Anyone else you have?
I've never asked for a raise or been in that situation, but I've always heard the best way to get a raise is to go in with another job offer with the paying. And that kind of puts them in a spot where they have to.
Meet it or start all over with a new employee. Yeah, that's a good thought, Matt. But if you didn't have that offer, what might you do? What might you say? Anyone speak up? You've been working there a year. Years are good cycles, you don't want to ask for a raise every 3 months. But after you've been there a year, you're making the same hourly rate or salary or what have you. What might you want to tell, say, look, boss, I think I deserve a raise, I like a raise. What might you say as to why?
Fishing on my task, I can sign for over a year. I don't need any more instructions.
Anyone else? So when you start the job, they may have assigned a mentor to you to train you, right? So basically the company is paying 2 people to do one thing, and that might, take, depending on the job, it might take days, might take weeks, might take months, go a long way. And the trainer, whoever is your mentor, they're slowly letting you go, you're doing more independently, right? So you've come some way, from, think about, it's all about the dollars, right? The company is beginning paying 2 people to do the task. Now, maybe they're paying 1.5 and or they're paying 1/2 and then 1/4. And you just go down the line, right? Now all of a sudden, a year later, you're flying solo, maybe you've been flying solo for 6 months. And now the company is just paying one person to do the one thing. And to his point, your quality is better, your efficiency, you're turning over more widgets or whatever it is in less time. And the company is now making more money off of you, right? And you want a piece of that. So, that's some things that you need to equip you with. But you're gonna need to quantify that. And we'll go over some little video things that are gonna reinforce some of this as well. But, you keep a head count. They're gonna tell you to keep track of what you're producing. So when I started, I was doing 10 things a week, 10 products a week. Now I'm doing 50 products a week. Now you're making all this more money off of what I'm doing, but I'm not getting a piece of it. Would anybody think that asking for a raise is like personal? In what way?
My situation.
Oh.
I did it collectively.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
It is personal.
Why?
You're asking someone to basically rate you. Either you do deserve this raise or you don't deserve this raise. If they say no, then they don't feel your value is what you feel it is. So it's personal.
Please.
Okay.
It shouldn't be, it's just work.
Yeah, yeah, no,
It
it's a
is.
different way to look, yeah. I was sort of thinking, you know, is this business or is it personal? You know, how do you between the two, personal or is it business, when you ask for the raise? Okay, yeah, yeah, cause I mean, some people think, oh, no, I feel wrong asking, you know, that kind of context. I don't feel comfortable asking for a raise.
It might be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Depending, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you could be doing good at your work, but you might be showing up late, and
Yeah.
that's like personal.
But all things considered, I mean, you're a good employee, you've been reliable with everything you've done, you're doing more than it used to be. Because, I would say try not to think of it as like, you know, a personal thing between you and your boss. You know, think of it as just being pure business. I'd like a raise, I'm doing more work, I'm making more money for this company. You're making more money because I'm producing more for you, I'm making you look good. And then again, if you got the leverage, if you've been interviewing, you say, look, you know, I've got an offer for something else. You know, you're gonna pay me X, so I'm gonna leave, you don't wanna match this or match plus, right? If you don't have the job, another job offer, paper kind of thing in hand, how might you go about arguing whether or not, you're being paid what you deserve? Think research.
Okay.
Find out how much somebody else makes.
Yeah, there you
You're
go.
like, if this dude makes this much,
Yeah.
then, I work sort of around him, I should get more than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where else could you go? I mean, have you ever looked at like Glassdoor, Indeed, things like that? Again, back to Galileo, right? They're gonna speak to what people in the industry typically make after, you know, kind of as entry level, 2 years out, 5 years out. What do those people have to do in order to, you know, get paid a little bit more? Or what have people in the industry done to, you know, achieve or earn a higher salary? So, you know, you can always walk in, if you don't have the paper, you don't know other people who are making more money than you are doing the same thing, you'd say, look, people in my industry in this area, you know, in Georgia, Atlanta area, are making X. You know, I've looked this up, I should be making that too, because I'm doing the work. This is what these other people have been doing. So you got, you know, knowledge leverage in that sense. So,
I've noticed a lot of places now, especially if it's a big corporation, when you go in, you sign a contract and you know when your raises are coming, how much they're gonna be and where they're gonna be at.
yeah, I've not heard that. What, can you give an example of a company that you know
Like
of?
when I worked at Lockheed, you got hired at this much, and every month you got this many cent raise, or every year you got this much raise. ADB, you know, several places, big corporations I worked, it's in the contract. You're
Okay.
getting a raise at this point, this point, this point, this point, until you top out at this.
Yeah. That's good to know. I don't know of any other companies that do that, honestly.
Like the railroad did it, ABB did it, yeah.
I mean, the government did it, I mean,
Yeah,
you
the
have
government
steps,
did it,
it's
yeah.
very, very structured in that sense, but I didn't think,
Yeah.
you know, I thought it was much more, sort of secret, you know, in many corporations, cause, you know, they may be hiring entry-level people with different salaries, you know, no one talks about the salary, right? Maybe times have changed a little bit, and people a little more, what I wanna say, open about stuff like that, cause they don't wanna get sued for paying somebody less for doing the same amount of work.
Yeah, they have come, their legality.
Yeah.
These companies have come really
Yeah.
structured their contracts for legality,
Yeah.
to protect themselves.
That makes a lot of sense. So, but anyway, if you don't have that contract telling you what you get and when, you know, obviously you can go and look at other sources. And say, well, look, you know, this is what people in my industry make. What else might you come up and you wanna say about why you should get a raise? I'm doing more work, I'm doing better work, so from a business side, you know, I should be paid more, but What else might be a driver?
Can't afford to give you a raise.
Hmm?
Like, you work for a small company, they may not be able to afford to give you a raise.
Yeah.
It's not fair to you.
Yeah, right. Okay, next question.
Doesn't answer the question, but what if you ask for promotion for the same thing?
I mean, kind of, sort of, I mean,
Then, so then-
you know, they may have different grade levels, so you may be like a, you know, team, or a, I don't know, whatever technician, but you could be a technician 2 or technician 3, you know, maybe those are, you know, kind of raises you could ask for, so it should be promoted. Well, why else? What could be a driver, right? You think about your needs. Say you're married, you just had a kid, look, I can't make ends meet with this. So, you know, if you can't pay me more, if you're dropping the glove with the employer, you know what I'm saying, like, okay, look, I have more financial needs right now. You know, and I'm gonna need to look for something else if you can't afford to pay me. It's just reality of life. I mean, you wanna buy a house or whatever it may be. There's no harm in telling them, why you should get paid a little more money while you need it. Okay. So. Let's see. I'll go through a little bit of this. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time with it. Because we talked about almost all of it.
Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Erin McGough, and I'm a filmmaker and content creator living in New York, and I help people find their dream careers and just generally feel more confident. You clicked on this video, which means that you're thinking about asking for a raise at work, which is an awesome thing to do. You should definitely be asking for a raise. If you feel like you're underpaid, there's a good chance you're underpaid. But I know, the idea of asking for a raise is daunting to say the least. I have so many people in my DMs constantly saying, Erin, I want to ask for a raise so bad, but I'm so scared of my boss. I don't know what to say. How do you phrase it? What if they say no? Listen, this is not personal. It is just professional. I even make sweatshirts that say that to remind you guys. This is how it works. You give your time and your skills to the company, and they give you money. It is a transactional relationship. You're not asking these companies to do you any favors. You're not asking your boss to personal.
And that's really where I was going with the you know, personal, professional kind of thing, you know. Don't feel intimidated by asking for something. Some people are.
When take out his or her wallet and leave you cash, you're simply asking to adjust your contract to properly compensate you for the value that you're bringing to this company. I always say asking for a raise is simply trading 30 seconds of awkwardness for cold hard cash. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. By just enduring maybe 30 minutes tops of awkwardness, you can be making thousands of more dollars that is going to snowball throughout your life. And the worst that is going to happen here is that they're gonna say no. So in this video, I'm going to go through 7 really short and quick steps on how to ask for a raise from beginning to end, and I guarantee you at the end, you are going to feel more confident. So, let's go.
Protect your dreams under our roof.
Isn't this the dream, Grandpa?
American Family Insurance.
If I go to another online school and it's not like that school, they're gonna have to hear about it from me. Like, if you weren't thinking about doing.
So step 1 is to do your research. You definitely don't want to just go in cold turkey and ask for a raise. It's probably not going to go over very well. What you want to do.
I think of it like if you've ever gone and, you know, haggled with a car salesperson, you know, you don't want to go in there not prepared to know exactly what you should be able to pay for the car or to negotiate. You'll probably lose every time because they're very prepared. So do your homework, asking for a raise.
Is that you want to look up salaries in your area, kind of like you're looking for a new job. And there's several great websites where you can do this. The first website is Glassdoor. I love Glassdoor.com. It's basically a big anonymous website where people talk about some good, but maybe bad things about companies. They'll leave reviews, saying, this interview process was kind of a mess, or they'll talk about how much money they were offered, or how much money they made there, or maybe a toxic boss. So if you ever leave a company and you want other people to know about the company, another place is PayScale, which is just another anonymous salary transparency website. And the great thing about PayScale and Glassdoor is that they've been around for so long. They really have a really solid database, and you can look up your exact job in your exact area, and you can compare your salaries. And then third, another great website is of course LinkedIn. You can also look up your job and your location and then see salaries.
So if you haven't used these tools, I would highly recommend you do, for, I mean, lots and lots of reasons. I mean, even just looking for a starting salary, you know, if you're gonna find yourself, you know, trying to, you know, if you're gonna try to negotiate for, you know, entry-level salary, they wanna lowball you, you know, you can always come back and say, well, look, one, I can't work for that amount of money, and two, you know, I'm seeing that other similar entry-level employees in this industry are making this kind of money, you know. When she brings up you know, go into Glassdoor, I would not recommend you go talk to your boss and say, well, look, I've read this in Glassdoor, that people in my industry are making X amount of money. I would recommend, one, you go to all three and sort of start comparing and look at averages, because, you know, the boss may just say, well, you know, Glassdoor is full of bogus information, and it's not vetted stuff, it's all people just volunteering what they make. The same may be true with Indeed and you know, the other one. But when all three sites are saying the same thing, you know, all of a sudden you're going to have better traction with that. Let's see.
Like the other two websites, LinkedIn has just so much data and is such a fantastic website for doing this kind of research. I recommend going to a lot of websites, looking at a lot of different salaries, and seeing kind of the average and what people are looking for in skills, and then list out your skills and see how much value you bring to the company, and that'll kind of inform like what you could ask for in a raise. But typically people ask for raises between like 3 to 10%. However, you're going to want to ask for double what you expect to get, because they're most likely going to meet you in the middle. Although every company is different, small, big, they're all going to have different policies around this. But you're definitely going to want to ask for more than you expect to get, just like when you're negotiating your salary for a job. Step 2 is to list out your accomplishments and value. So it's really important to go into this meeting knowing 2 things. The first thing is how your role or your position is.
Yeah, sort of the point I was making earlier. I mean, how many widgets were you producing you know, when you started? This is one of these things, and she's going to go into it. It's like you almost want to have something like a diary. You know, make notes. You know, chronologizing what you've accomplished over what period of time. You know, so if you're producing more, have numbers. You can say, well, look, when I started, I was making X or things, and now I'm making Y things, right? You gotta have a number.
Changed since your last raise. And number 2 is how you've contributed to the company since your last raise. And also just a side note, people tend to ask for raises after 12 months of not getting a raise, but then again, every industry is different, but that's kind of like a general standard. So a great way to list out your accomplishments and value is to actually keep track while you work. Pro tip, a great way to keep track of your accomplishments and value is to do it while you're working. So don't try to like, what did I do this year? No. You want to keep track while you're doing things. So if you get an email of somebody saying, you did a great job on that, literally screenshot it, create a Google Drive folder, so it's in the cloud, safe, and then upload that. If you get a metrics report or analytics, or you get positive feedback from the pet.
Protect your dream home under our roof. American Family Insurance.
Pay is not reflective that extra work. Number 3 is to practice your pitch. It's really important to script and rehearse what you're going to say.
Anyone think elevator pitch all of a sudden? I mean, there's relevancy to that as well. You know, so I'm ready to speak to it. Make the eye contact, you know, present yourself well to the person you're going to ask for the raise, etc. Tell them what you've done.
Say so that you make sure that you don't mess anything up or ask for the wrong thing. You want to make sure that you are explicit with your request. Now, I think there are kind of 3 elements to the pitch script. The first is just acknowledging them and your role and how much you've enjoyed working at the company. So you can say something like, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I know you're really busy, so I appreciate you making the time to have this conversation. I've been producing here over the past 8 months, and I'm very grateful for all the projects I've been able to work on. Part 2 is that you're going to want to talk about what you've accomplished, what you've contributed, the value that you've brought, how your role has changed, all that stuff. And then part 3 is that you have to clearly make your ask. So many people just dance around it. They expect the manager to bring it up. I promise you, your manager is busy, and they're really going to appreciate you getting right to the point. Because the truth of the matter is, and any manager watching this is going to nod with me in agreement, anybody's gonna know, they already know if they can give you a raise. Like, all you're really doing in this meeting is that you're giving them a reason to advocate for whoever's above them. So you need to give them reasons to go to whoever's above them to say, hey, this person, I think we're underpaying them. We need to give them a raise or else they're going to leave. Depending on the company, like, you probably don't have to appeal to your manager's emotions, okay? They're going to know going into that meeting what they can offer you and what they can't, and you just need to make your case so that they can make their case to somebody else. That's usually how it works. Step 4 is to set up a meeting.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I mean, because, the frontline supervisor is probably not gonna be the one to be able to authorize the raise. But, as having been a frontline supervisor, it's very hard to keep track of what everybody is doing, So if someone wanted to ask me for a raise, I couldn't give it to them, or for a promotion or something, or whatever it might have been. It would be very, very helpful if they just came up to me and said, look, I've done all this. I mean, I'd be aware of what they're doing, but I mean, to help me make the splash. So it's kind of like you're putting words into the mouth of your frontline supervisor to take to the next level, assuming they're on board with you. I mean, if they disagree with you about all your stated accomplishments, well, so what? They're not gonna go to bat for you. But if they like you and they want to keep you, you're giving them the tools that they can go to the next level and say, look, this person has approached me for a raise, and that person can make the pitch to whoever that person would need to make the pitch to. Say, look, I think this raise is warranted. Why don't we see if we can find, the means to pay this person a little more? Because to the point there, if you say no, if that's a really good employee you want as a business, you don't want to lose somebody, because hiring it's a project. Someone's going to have to announce the job. Someone's going to have to sift through all the papers. You're going to have to go through your onboarding process, train somebody, and you're not going to have the same productivity level. With that expenditure, it'll take time for that person to get up to speed to where the other person was. That all costs the business money. So it's really in their interest to pay you a little bit more to keep you if they want to. Just give them the ammunition, the information that they're going to need to justify it. Because invariably, if that person is going to need to write some kind of justification as to why this person should get more money, and just help that person out by giving it to them a question.
What was today's lesson about?
Well, we're coming to the end of it, so.
So this is really important. You shouldn't just ambush your boss. You shouldn't just drop by their office. You shouldn't just zoom them out of the blue. No. Do you have a few minutes this week? I promise it's something bad. You don't want them to think that you're quitting, but also is it the worst thing ever for them to think that you're quitting? Because maybe they'll think, oh, what are we gonna do without them? Just kidding. But then again, one time I did this, and my manager already came in having talked to HR and finance, and so they already knew what they could offer me. So it got done in that meeting, and so that was really great. But not everybody has a great manager. So timing is also really key. So you're gonna know your manager best, but don't pick a time when they're stressed out. Also, in general, pick a time when you're doing really well, particularly after you finish a really successful project, and when the company is doing well. So if the company just did a bunch of layoffs, not a good time yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of pretty obvious. You probably don't want to go into your boss Monday morning and say, look, I'd like a raise, because everyone's just getting stressed out for the week. She brings up a Friday afternoon. That's not a bad time. Late in the afternoon, people are starting to chill. Hey, can I have 5 minutes? Your time, I want to talk about something.
Mr. Laine, can you please tell us the name of this lesson?
I don't know if it really has a name, so we're doing
Lesson 7, write an email, right?
emails. We're doing pieces of lesson 7 and lesson 6. Workplace portfolio documents, email.
And the assignment?
We're not going to have an in-class today, so I just really wanted to go over more talk through these things. So we're coming to time. I don't really think there's anything in this video that we haven't already talked about. So are there any questions?
I just like talking for a minute in class, that's all.
Yeah. Certainly. So 2 deliverables for, no, 2 or 3 this, yeah. The resume and IOE feedback, cover letter, and then the email assignment due Sunday. And keep it simple, keep it clean, follow the instructions. There'll be 3, the email, resume, cover letter. The resume is probably mostly done. I'm gonna give you feedback on the resume you sent in last week, and just read the feedback. Just keep it clean. So. Yeah, use Word. Yeah. Or you can even just write it in the box, it doesn't really matter. And none of these are MLA stuff, so just, you know, this is stuff that you'd be presenting to somebody, you know, career fair, workshop kind of thing. Cover letter, pull one of the templates, like that, all the prompts, all the instructions. So, in the video, we went over a few things. I mean, you got your hook, you got your substance, and then you got your closure. We just do 3 simple paragraphs. Yeah.
Just talking about the hiring process, I've also noticed a lot of companies really don't hire that much. They go through temp agencies and bring you in as a temp, and then they hire you from there.
Try before you buy,
Yeah, a lot of big corporations are doing that now.
See, cause you gotta think, they got the choice, like, you know, we talk about marketing a lot of stuff and stuff, but like, if they don't want you, they don't want you. You know, it's like, you got, I mean, like, you get a pretty accomplished resume, I know some other guys who got accomplished resumes, and like, still like experts in their field. I had a friend who's a master welder, been doing it 20 years, and he got 1 job offer, and he applied at like 6 different places. Cause it's just, there's no jobs right now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Even for welding?
Yeah, but he's on a different kind of level than most people.
Yeah.
So like, he was kind of an industrial pipeline welder, and he's got like all the master stuff, been doing it 20 years, so he's a lead supervisor or inspector. But even in his career field, like, and maybe it's just cause he's so far up the,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
developed part of it.
because if this person wanted any job.
No, it's not any job, he was looking for a job that was over 6 figures.
Yeah.
Those are few and far between.
Yeah, this would be hard.
But he's really good at what he does, and had jobs for the past 10 years that have paid over.
Yeah.
over 6 figures.
That happens, I guess it's not surprising because it happens so much. People who are journeyman level, you know, in the field, very accomplished, you know, people, you know, they can't get a job because, maybe partly because of their age. People don't wanna hire somebody who's 50 or 60. They don't wanna pay them that much money.
I hire a young guy and pay him 50,000.
Yeah,
Instead of paying them back.
Yeah. Young lady who used to work for me, they the Department of Education that got it. Everybody in my division was just let go. And there were a lot of very, very good people who were let go, which is really painful. But she was, bright shining star. I mean, she was, had 2 kids. She's probably maybe 30 years old. I just saw a thing from her. She was like, help if anyone knows that he was hiring. I'm not getting selected because I was making too much money. I'm not getting selected because of this, and for that, all these reasons. I'd hire her in a second, just a shame. But, she made too much money, she had overqualified for this, and, they don't think she's gonna stay very long because her qualifications exceeded that for the job. So they're, it's really, really.
Eventually leave and go someplace and make more money.
Yeah. So. Okay, any questions about deliverables? They're pretty straightforward. One should be mostly complete. You know how to get to the cover letter templates. If you don't, ping me. Please ask. Okay, so if that's, any more questions? Free to go. If not, have a good week. One more.